Hi, it's Melissa from Appeggio, and in this video I'll be showing you how to add, edit and style buttons. The button is a very commonly used part in Appeggio, and we have lots of different types of buttons for you to select from. So to add a button, we just go to Add and then select the button that we would like to add to the page. We'll just add the first one, and that's the button there. So we have lots of different button variations. We've got some that are text only, some that are icon only, text with append icons and prepend icons, and so on. Now it's very easy to format and style a button. So the thing that we'll start with is the color. So to change the color, we select the button and we go over to colors in the right property editing panel. Now what you'll notice with buttons is that we can change the color of the button. We can change the color when the button is active, the color when the button is focused, and colors when the button is hovered. So let's have a look at colors. The foreground color refers to the text, and the background color refers to the button itself. So let's change the background color to a primary color, and we'll change the foreground to a white. Now the same process occurs if we wanted to change the colors on active, focus or hover, but let's do hover as an example. And I'll make it something that's very obvious when we hover over it. So let's make it this success colored green for the background, and the foreground will make that warning colored orange. So you'll see as I hover over it, the foreground and the background color of the button change. Now when it comes to sizing of buttons, we have some preset sizes of buttons. All of these can be done responsively. We can also manually set the width and the height of the button, and we can also do that to be responsive as well. But let's first have a look at the preset sizes. And what I'll do to show you is I'll make the mobile size extra small, the tablet size small, laptop size medium, and desktop large. And let's see the size of the button as we change through our device sizes. So you'll see that we can very easily make our buttons responsive based on their size. And like I said, we can do that manually too if we have specific heights and widths in mind. Now the buttons have a decoration editor. So with the decoration editor, we can change the opacity of the button, we can apply shadows around the button, and we can change the rounding of the button. So I'll start with the rounding. Buttons naturally come with a little bit of rounding. If you wanted to remove the rounding altogether, you would select none, and you'd get the hard edge around the button. You've also got degrees of rounding, so you can give it a small rounding, or you can go right up to extra large or full. So full will give it a pill shape, like that. Now let's have a look at the shadow. We can apply shadow to the outer of the button or the inner of the button, and we can select our degree of rounding as well as the color. So just to show what it looks like, I'll add an extra large shadow, and I will give it a color that stands out. Let's give it an orange just so we can see it. It's probably not something we would choose, but for the example, you can see the extra large shadow there. And we can also adjust the opacity of the button using the slider. There we go. Now the button has lots of different properties. Let's go through some of them. We can make the button a block, so that will take up the entire space that the button is in. Actually, let's get rid of that. And then I'll show you what wide looks like. So wide makes the button wider, but it will not take up the full space. Now this is the glass property. The glass property gives your button a glass effect. Now it is most noticeable if it's on top of another part, because what happens is you get a little hint of what's behind the button, but you can still see that it does have a little bit of a glass effect on that button. Now we'll have a look at some button variants, but before we do that, I'm going to get rid of some of the formatting that we've done, or it might be difficult to see the different variants. So let's get rid of, actually the rounding is fine. So if we go down to the variants, and we select link, the button now looks like it has an underlined link in it. Now I've selected outline. It is a bit hard to see the outline, so what I'm going to do is remove the color. And you can see that the button now has an outline around it. Now if I go back to my variants and I apply the ghost variant, you now can't see the button. The button is there, but you can't see it. So we can still see it when we hover over the top of it, but it looks like it's text only now. Now, just so we can see the button, I'm going to make this an outlined button. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is add an icon to this button. So to do that, I will select the button. I will go to add, and I'll go to icons, and I'll add this icon here. Now you'll see it has been added to the append slot, which is the slot at the end. Now if we want to change the position of the icon, I can go over to slot position, and I can choose prepend, which will put it before the text there. Now what I can also do is select the icon, go over to icons, and I can change this icon for anything that I like. Let's make it that one. Now we can change the text in our button by selecting the text and then going over to the text property editor and keying in whatever we like. Now using this text editor, we can also change anything to do with the way the font looks. So we can change our font family, the size, the weight of the text. Let's just make it a bit bolder. We can change the height of the text and the style of the text. Now if we want to add a link to the button, that's very easy. We select the button, we go over to link to. We can link the button to an internal page here or an external URL. We can also choose the link behavior. So we can make the button open into a new page, into itself, which means its own page. We can open it in a parent frame or in a full window. Now what I will do is I will link this to our, let's say, our blog page. And then you'll see that the blog page has been selected. So if I click on the button, it takes us over to our blog page. Now, if this button was in a form, what we would do is go over to the type of the button, and I would make this a submit button. So if I was in a form part, the way that we submit the data in the form is if we make the button a submit form. That's only necessary if we are in a form part. Now we can also link our buttons to functions, which makes our buttons do things. So to do that, we open up the Actions editor on the right, and we can choose what happens on click or on double click. Now that is a whole other video, so I'll leave it there. But to recap, there's lots of different ways that we can style a button. All of the property editors are in the right property editing panel. We can easily link our buttons. We can change their shape, their size. We can add icons to them, and we can make them different variants. Thank you.